interesting, as she said, to see how the NPA comes back on this one. Let's go back to this story now. Police in the Eastern Cape have made several arrests following fresh protests at the Walter Sisulu University. Students took to the streets today after a residence manager accused of murder was granted bail. Manelisi Mampane, who also faces charges of attempted murder and the unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, was released on a 10,000 rand bail yesterday. He opened fire during a student protest in April, killing Sisonke Mbolekwa. Now, South African Union of Students NEC member Nhlonipho Nxumalo joins me now live. Nhlonipho, a very good afternoon to you. We saw earlier parents appealing to students to behave while, of course, sticking to their protests. How would you describe the situation now? And I'm assuming here that you would have had conversations among yourself about where things are and what you would like to see happening next.
Thank you so much, Bravi. Greetings to you and your viewers. As we can obviously see that the justice system keeps on failing the most vulnerable groups, that being women, being children, and students. As you were saying, that the issue is an issue that comes from a protest that was as a result of the poor poor services that were given to students at WUSU, and therefore there was an issue. What we're seeing here now is an issue of militarization of campuses. As we're speaking now, there are police on campuses to arrest our students. Whereas we have continuously said that we do not want the militarization of campuses. And it is the same reason that we are that Sisonke ended up passing away prematurely because of this issue of the institutional autonomy, allowing private security to come with to be militarized, allowing even the police to come to campuses with armed, whereas they know very well that students are not armed. However, they're just they are just expressing their frustrations, and therefore, if this continues, that they militarize the institutions of higher learning when students are expressing their views and their frustrations, then we're going to continuously have these issues. We're going to have another Sisonke who's going to pass away prematurely because of this issue of militarization of campuses. So the main issue here that we should be focusing on dealing with, firstly, is the militarization of campuses, because you cannot explain to me why a res manager was having a live ammunition at a residence of students.
But does the issue of the militarization of campuses have to be looked at on its own without looking perhaps at the situation more holistically? Because let me tell you why I'm asking this, because among the people, you are not alone, among the people who have actually raised the issue of militarization of campuses is the Minister of Higher Education. I remember the first time she descended on Mthatha after the death of your fellow student. She did raise this issue quite forcefully. But today, the government of which she is part also raised the issue of violence, destruction of property just as equally. Should we not perhaps balance these quite as forcefully as we are raising the issue of the militarization of campuses?
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you that we do condemn violence. We do condemn that students should not destroy property, because it is the same property that is supposed to assist them to learn, to have conducive environment. So we do condemn that holistically, and we also condemn any form of violence by our students and by the police, because most of the time you find that students resort to being violent because of the resistance that they get, because most of the time when students start protesting, they are not armed, but because of the militarization of security, of police, they then resort to having to being violent. So we do condemn any form of violence and vandalism.
And not only that, of course, the protest has also disturbed academic programs. What would you like to see happening?
The reality is that we have lost the life of a student, and this is going to continuously happen if this thing is not attended to and addressed in the manner that it needs to be addressed at. So we can't continue business as usual when we have lost one of our own. However, we do not want violence. We do not want anyone to get hurt. However, it can't be business as usual if we've lost one of our own. And this is going to be a continuous thing that is happening every year, because you do understand that the main reason that we're here is because of the residences that were not up to the standards that students would want, with no proper services. And therefore, if these issues are not addressed, they're going to continuously happen. Students next year are going to be in the same place where they have to protest. And then after protesting, some of them get hurt, some of them even die, like Sisonke has left us. And therefore, we're going to be in the same place over and over and over again. So one, I think we're trying to address here, one, what should be addressed to avoid having such an instance happening again next year and the other year. One, NSFAS and the Department of Higher Education need to ensure that the residences have the proper services, and it's up to the proper standard that students would be conducive when they study at. Number two, the militarization of campuses must be addressed. We do not want that in our campuses. We highly condemn it in all the campuses across South Africa.
Quick parting shot for me. Hopefully, NSFAS and the Department of Higher Education do indeed, or are indeed, looking at the issues you are raising, which is where, in fact, all of this actually, where all of this started. But now, just about the issue, because I did ask my colleague Liema earlier whether the institution itself has said anything about the protest. Nothing. No one has heard from them. But if they come out to say, but the protests currently are about the decision of the court to give Manelisi Mampane a 10,000 rand bail yesterday, and that the university has little, if anything, to do with that, what then would you say?
Like I said, students don't have much. They're not armed. The only thing that they can do is to voice out their frustrations through forms of protests. And therefore, this is just their way to voice out their frustrations to the government, to say that it can't be business as usual at WUSU. Yes, the university has no much jurisdiction over this matter. However, this is a situation that happened in WUSU, and therefore students are rightfully organized at WUSU to voice out their frustrations. It's not that they are expecting the university to overturn that decision of the court. Yes, it is the decision of the court, and as I've said when I started, that the justice system continuously fails the vulnerable, which are children, women, and obviously students are the vulnerable. So that is the unfortunate part, that it is the justice system that is failing us, and we will organize ourselves in our little spaces to try and voice out our frustrations, and that is what is happening at WUSU currently.
Will organizing yourselves also involve or include rising to the defense and support of the students who will be charged with public violence, damage to infrastructure, and damage to property as well?
Like I said, we do condemn vandalism, and we have been saying that we condemn any form of vandalism, and as a result, our focus also, we need to pay attention that the universities do bring police to victimize students. So sometimes you find that students are not necessarily violent, but because they want to kill down the strike, they want to depoliticize the space, they will victimize students and arrest them for being part of a protest. However, we are saying that students should not vandalize. There should not be any form of violence, and we do not support that. And we are not saying we're going to support any student that was caught maybe destroying property, because we have continuously been against that.
Nhlonipho Nxumalo, let me thank you very much for your time.